Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Welcome back to Jamie Photography and Merry Christmas for 2024. I thought I'd do a bit of a Christmassy image at the beginning of December here. And this is Jared's department store in Norwich in Norfolk, England. I took a trip up there this week just to have a look. The department store was dressed up beautifully and I thought, well, it'd make a great shot. I had to take the shot handheld because there were so many people around. I didn't want to get bumped into. And actually the original image we started with here was this one. And as you can see, I've exposed for the highlights, so I've exposed for the shop itself so that everything else is dark. But as you're well aware, we can recover the dark areas. But there are a lot of people walking around. So actually what I ended up doing was looking at all the different people that were walking around the scene. And I thought, well, you know, it's going to take me forever to generative film my way out of this. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 30 images, step them all slightly apart, 1 or 2 seconds apart, and then what we're going to do is we're going to bring it back into Lightroom and we're going to stack it in Photoshop, and that way we can take the average of the shot. And I'm going to show you that today. We're going to start with 30 images, and we're going to go from there to get to this shot here. If you like the video, please click like. If you've got any comments or questions, feel free to put them down below. I've also included the 22 images that I'm going to use. Although there's 30 here, you'll see as we get into the video we actually only use 22. So I'll include those in a link down below. It's a lot to download, so please be aware if you do want to do it. It's quite a bit to download, but you're welcome to do so to follow along. If you've got 5 minutes, it'd be great for you to pop over and have a look at my website. You can learn a little bit about me, what gear I use, and also I've got some new workshops released for 2025. Currently I'm showing a workshop in London, 6 nights. So feel free to click on more information and find out about that workshop. And in January, I will also be releasing my English Medievals Cities tour, which will be in the autumn. Both workshops were a great success this year. And met some new friends, and we had a great time, did some wonderful things. So feel free to have a look at that. And if you've got any questions, then just click on the contact me and we will go from there. Okay, let's get started. So as I've said, we've got rather a lot of images here. We've got 30 images in total. So what we need to do to start off with is let's balance the exposure. So as you can see, I've shot for the highlights so that the inside of the shot is not overexposed. That was important. We can recover the shadows quite easily. So let's select number 1 here. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to open up the shadows. I'm going to bring down the highlights, not all the way, because if I go all the way, it gets a little bit unnatural if you look inside the shop. So I'm going to probably come in around about minus 40, something like that. So, and then I'm going to increase the exposure. So we just bring that exposure up. Going to come up to about 1.15 stops there, just so we can see the scene. And I want to use this right the way through. But before I do, I think we should correct the perspective. So let's just go down on the side here and we will find transform. There it is. I'm just going to click auto just to see how it does. Actually does reasonably well. It's not perfectly straight either side. So let's do guided. So I grab guided. We're going to take this tree and we're going to run a line down the center of that tree. So click at the top, pull down, click at the bottom. And then I'm going to go over to this edge of this the building here and just pick that one up as well. So that's nice and straight. So that looks good. But you do get a little bit of an optical illusion if you have it perfectly straight. It looks like it's pulling it at the bottom. So we can just pull that in a little bit at the bottom and that just pulls it out slightly. You see that? Just take this one here, just come over 1 click and that just sort of creates a better perspective. Okay, happy with that. So next thing I'm going to do is go to the crop tool. So we're just going to bring this in just to cover off the end there. I think what we'll do is we'll just pick the end of the buildings here. So we're coming down into the street, and I'll do the same on this side. We'll come over and we'll just sort of keep the tree in shot, but make sure that the shop here is in the center as best as possible. So let's do that. So that's pretty good. So whilst we're here, we might as well go in and check the ratios. So make sure your padlock's unlocked, click on custom, and then we can click 1 by 1. And that will give us a 1 by 1 cut. Now that's a little bit too tight. So I do want to increase left to right. So Just going to unlock that padlock again. I'm just going to pull this to the left, take it up to that point where we crop to. Do the same on this side. As I say, I don't want too much of the buildings in there, so we'll have to remove that on the edge there. I want to keep that as open sky, so just move that to the center there. So I'm just going to go with a freehand crop like so. I'm going to hit return, and that's what we're going to work with. Now what we do need to do is copy these across all of them, okay, the settings that we've just made. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on number 1 in the film strip here, and I'm going to go to develop settings. I'm going to go down, sorry, I'm going to go up to copy settings. So I'm going to click all, so check all, so everything's highlighted, and click copy. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to move to number 2. I'm then going to go to all the way to the end there to number 30. I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to click again, so they're all highlighted. I'm going to just right click on any one of them, and then I'm just going to go back into develop settings, and then I'm just going to say paste the settings, and it will take those settings and it will apply them to all of them. Okay, so even if I move back here, you'll see that as they update, they've all been corrected. So great. Next step is to consider how we're going to bring all of these together. Now what's important to do is to look at each of the images and to make sure that you're not getting large groups of people in one place for an extended period of time. So as we move through, I'll move here using the cursor keys. As we move through, you can see all the people are moving, and then there's a lot more people appear, but they're still moving, so that's okay. We can work with that. As long as there's space being developed around these sort of areas. So just keep going, yeah, people still moving. Now there's a group of people starting to appear here. I just noticed that they're not moving here, these people here, so they're quite static. They've obviously stopped to have a look at the shop. So so I'm going to come back to where they're not in the shop there. So number 24. So from 25 to 30, I don't need those. So I'm just going to highlight those by clicking 25, holding down the shift key, clicking 30. I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to remove those here. I don't need them. Okay, so I've got 24 images now. Let's just go through these images and make sure that we don't have a big group of people staying in one place. There's quite a lot of people here. This is quite thick at this point. Here and here, these two, I think they're too thick. So I'm just going to, again, highlight those two, right click on there and remove the photos. I'm going to delete those from the disk as well. So hopefully we won't have too many people in one place at one time. So I'm just going back through them. Looks pretty clear. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So the next step is to take them over into Photoshop, and what we'll do is we will take these 22 images and we will stack them. Okay, so highlight number 1 and then go to the end and highlight number 22. So we've got them all highlighted there. Now I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to edit in. Now resist the urge to go to edit in Adobe Photoshop 25, because that's where we want to go, but we don't click at the top here. What we do is we go right the way down the bottom and we select open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, it's quite important that you do this, because once we click on that, it will take us over into Photoshop, and it will start to import those images as separate layers in Photoshop. You can see that it's doing it over here. It takes a little bit of time depending on the speed of your computer, and particularly the speed of your hard drive here. Now I'm using an external hard drive, which has a speed of about 1 gigabit per second. So it's an SSD. So it's not particularly fast, because the internal hard drive on this Mac that I have would actually run it about 6 or 7 gigabits per second. So so it'd be a lot faster. But I have so many photographs, as you could probably imagine, that I need separate storage to look after all of those. So they're loading there down, and when it's complete, it will just show that they've all loaded. So the idea really is, once we've got all these layers, we're going to need to make sure everything's aligned. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stack the images together and look at how we generate an average of the whole scene. So there's all of them are in there. So I'm just going to highlight the top one there. I'm going to move the slider down, and I'm going to hold the shift key and click the bottom one. So we have all of the, I'm just going to move this little divider up here. So we now have all of the layers, all of them highlighted, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to go up and we're going to go to edit in the top, up in the top here, and we're going to go down and we're going to select auto align layers, okay? Don't worry about perspective or anything like that. Just stick with auto. It works very, very well. Just click OK. And what it's going to do, it's now going to analyze all of those 22 layers, and it's going to start overlaying them so that effectively the building is aligned in every image. And this is really important if you stack. If you don't, everything will be slightly different, because this was a handheld shot, and obviously I'm moving ever so slightly between each picture I take. So we're just allowing that. You can see it's counting down as it works through each of the images. So each of these images is 45 megapixel, shot with my Canon R5. There we go. So they're all aligned. Now you can see there is a bit of a line there. There is a little bit of a line, so we'll have to deal with that. But that's all of them brought together. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on any of the layers here. I'm going to say convert to smart object. All right, and what that does is it brings all 22 layers into a single object. There it is, a single layer. So once we're in a single layer, we can then start to do some quite clever things with it. So what we now do is we go up to layer on the menu here, okay, and then we come down to smart objects. Well, we've just made it into a smart object, okay, so we go to smart objects, and these are all the things that you can do with smart objects. But the one we're looking for is to stack mode down the bottom. So smart objects and stack mode, and then we're going to go across and choose one of these. Now they all do something quite interesting, and I urge you to have a play with them sometimes. They're quite fun. But the two averages are mean and median. And so these two, they generate an average, each in a slightly different way. The mean takes the average of each and keeps the average of each in the shot. The median takes the average of the main scene and subtracts anything that's not in every shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to select that because we want to get rid of the people. And so the computer's now going to work on that whole process of stacking those 22 images together, analyzing each of those images, and effectively it will then give us the average with all of the parts that are moving, effectively not in every scene, removed. That's what we hope for anyway. So we always end up with a little bit of ghosting, particularly if there is a number of people in one place for a longer period. You can improve this process by shooting more images. Of course, it takes longer to process. I have actually done this when I was in Florence once with the Ponte Vecchio bridge. There were so many people, so I actually shot 100 images and then stacked them, and actually it turned out quite well. So here we go. This is the outcome of the shot. So pretty well everybody's gone. There's a little bit of ghosting over here, but most of the people on the pathway have gone, a little bit on the edge, but we're going to tidy this up anyway. Now we're in Photoshop. So actually I'm quite happy with this. But let's zoom into this area down the bottom here and just have a look at where we are. Now, just one little note. Some people might be thinking, well, why didn't he denoise these before we moved them over into Photoshop? Normally, Jamie denoises everything. And that's true, because these are shot at 1600 ISO. However, when you do multi-image shots and you bring them together as an average, it automatically corrects for the noise, because the noise is different in each shot. So what you'll see here compared to the original image is there's little to no noise at all now. We've actually done the compression. So there's no need to waste any time doing that as well. You know, it won't give you much more information than you've already got. So let's have a look. So we've got these people here. So I'm just going to take the lasso tool here. Okay, so and just bring that round and pick up where that is. The lasso tool can be found in the toolbar. There it is. And if it's not showing the lasso, it's probably showing one of these other selection brushes, but you can select that by clicking L. So I've highlighted that. I'm going to use our good old favorite generative fill to remove this, because there's a lot going on. There's a road, there's posts, there's a shop front there. So we've selected generative fill, okay, and then we're going to generate. Now every time I use generative fill, whilst I show you this, I'm just going to speed it up slightly so we don't have to wait too long. It takes the same amount of time for all of us. And of course, once generative fill is completed, you get three options. So this is option 1, This is option 2. It's put the post back in, which is quite useful. And this is item 3. I think item 2 is the one we want. Now, up in your properties bar, you will find that you've got the actual pictures showing, and you've got some additional options when you're up there. So we're going for number 2, and you'll see there's like a little up arrow and like a little sort of flag there. If you click on that, it will allow you to enhance the actual amount of detail you've got. In this case, it said the variation's too small to enhance, so we don't need to worry. So whilst we're here, we're going to do this little second group of people here. So I'm just going to pick up their ghosting in that shot. Generative fill and generate. There we go. So that's option 1. Option 2. Option 2 is very good again. Option 3, I think we're going to go with option 2. And I know there's no need to click the little flag because it will tell me it's too small. So we know, because that was slightly smaller than this one. Whilst we're here, we're going to get rid of the busker. If he was dressed up a little bit and he had an instrument showing or something like that, I'd think, well, maybe it would be good to keep him in the shot. But I'm just going to go around that post there to try and keep as much of that post in the shot as we possibly can. And then we'll just go around him. Same thing, generative fill and generate. There we go, option 1. Let's just move this down. Option 1, option 2, option 3. I quite like option 3. There's a nice bright red there in the window. So we'll stick with that. We've got some people here in the distance. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to, because they're all ghosted there, I'm just going to take the tool, put it around them like so. And we'll do the same thing again, generative fill and generate. So that's option 1, done a good job. Option 2, option 3. Quite like option 3, you've got a bit of a shadow down there. So we'll just check to see whether we can up-spec that. No, variation's too small, so that's fine. Now, whilst we're here, I'm thinking I probably want to remove these bicycles in this car. If it was a sort of classic bicycle, it could be worth keeping, but I'm not too happy with that. So I'm just going to go around, take out the bin that's behind it as well. Should we take out the double yellow lines? Let's do that whilst we're here. We're on the edge of the shot anyway. So off the scene, back over the top of these ghosted people on this side, over the top of the bin, back to where we were. So there's a little bit bigger selection this time. So I'm going to click generative fill and generate. Now this time I'm not going to speed up. I'm just going to explain to you that you do need to keep an eye on the number of tokens that you have. If you have the Lightroom and Photoshop photographer pack, which is a monthly subscription, you get 250 tokens a month. Now I do this all the time, as you can imagine, and I don't get through 250. I probably use it best between maybe 5 and 10 maximum per image. So that's 25 to 30 images a month, and actually I don't really do that many when it comes to generative fill. So here's option 1. There's option 2. That's pretty good. I like that. Option 2, and that's option 3. I'm going to go with option 2. And again, I'm going to click this time to see if it does say yeah, and it is doing it. There it did very quickly. Enhance the detail, and it's improved that area. So we're going to stick with that. And if you actually zoomed in, you'll see that it's a little bit better. In this case, it's enhanced it, but it's actually changed the color. Yeah, so it isn't actually any better. The resolution is better, but the color's not right. So I'm going to go back to number 2. There we go, because it's got nicer color. So that's the one I'm going to go with. Now, a couple little more details around here. We've got this sign in the distance. I might take this person out over here now as well. So we're just going to go around that sign, down around the people, into the tree. We'll just cover them off like so. There we go. So this is a tiny little generative fill. You could use the remove tool, and I'll show you in a second. The remove tool could be used for a number of things. And using the remove tool, we don't use any tokens, which is also quite helpful. But the remove tool really works well where you've got a consistent background. So number 1, option 1 is pretty good. Option 2, option 3. I'm going to go with, should I go with option 1? I think option 1, I like that. Now there's a bit of a step showing here, and it quite often you have to be a little bit careful when you're right on the edge of an image to make sure that you don't sort of upset the edge. Where we did that generative fill, there's a little bit of line here. So let's go and select the remove tool. You can do that by pressing J, and if you go into the remove tool, you'll find it's the spot healing brush, and then you've got different options in there. So in this case, we're going to go with the remove tool. Now the remove tool won't work on one of the layers where you've had the generative fill. Okay, so you either go back to the background layer at the bottom and then you can carry on in the areas where you're free. But what I tend to do is I select all of them. Now I'm happy with the fill, and then I just flatten the image down to just using all of that. So we now just have one layer again. Okay, the remove tool now is ready to roll. So I can just select that. I'm just going to take out that black line as well that you can see on the edge there, and take out the step. So because I don't have remove after each stroke ticked here, little checkbox, I can add things and change things. So for example, this little sign here that's just sticking out of nowhere, I might take out the brighter one as well. And this one that just goes off the edge up here as well, we can just select those as well as this part here. And then when we're ready, we can just hit the check mark and it will calculate what's needed and remove them. So that looks okay. I'm just going to take out that little edge again right there. You just see we just got a little bit of edging on the shot because we just right on the edge of the scene. We don't want something that just pulls the eye away. So that works okay. I'm happy with that. There's a little bit of difference in color here. So the remove tool can help with that as well. If you've got a little change of color, you can select with the remove tool, and the remove tool is quite good at actually sorting out the color as well as just removing objects and sorting things out. So yeah, happy with that. Maybe we'll take the drain out. Let's see if the remove tool's good enough to take the drain just out of this shot here, and then we'll check that. There we go, that's fine. Okay, so moving across, let's have a look. The drain right out front of the shop's just a little bit distracting. We're just going to see if we can remove that and just tidy that up a little bit. That works okay. And we've also got this sign here and this post, which is a little bit closer, slightly out of focus. We need to remove that, but also I want to remove these double yellow lines here right in the foreground. It sort of breaks up the image. So still using the remove tool, just going to remove those. Does a good job with that. We'll need to use generative fill to remove this because it goes up and there's quite a lot of information to deal with there. Also, I'd like to remove this bicycle and this one-way sign. So let's do that quickly. And of course, we want to remove the taxi. Now just let me show you the difference between the remove tool and generative fill. So I'm just going to make my brush a little bit bigger. We're going to go around. We'll select the taxi. Okay, just go around there like so. Come back round. Now, if you do use the remove tool and you go around a circumference and you just let go, it will automatically fill in the center for you. It knows to do that. So let's see what remove tool can do with the taxi. Not too bad a job. We've got a line here and a line there, and the other side of the road is not quite correct. So if I just undo that, let's instead go back to the lasso tool, and let's lasso round this this taxi this time. Okay, just going to take the double yellow lines as well. We'll just come up and we'll run along that edge there, and then relatively tight around the taxi. There's a person there, so we'll take that person as well, and we'll come round, back round the door mirror. That's it. And we'll do generative fill and generate. There we go. So option one. Now look at the difference. Can you see that the lines are all consistent? This is all in. We've got some dotted lines there. That's option one. Option two. Oh, we've got some interesting writing on the road there. And option three. So I think option one, and what we'll do is we'll remove those lines as well up to that point. So we can do that. I'm quite happy with that. But whilst we're here, let's just zoom out a little bit. Let's deal with this. Let's deal with this sign. So I just hold down the space bar to move to a different position. Now this time I'm going to go into the lasso tool, so right click, and I'm going to select polygonal lasso tool. You might think, well, what's that? Well, it's the same thing, but now we use straight lines. So for example, if I click once and let go, I can now draw a straight line. So if I come to the other side of that post, I can come all the way down because the post is straight. I can come all the way down quite tight, and then I can literally just click where I want to go. Like here, for example, I can just go around there. I can go off the shot, come back on over here, back up this side. So using straight lines. So if you don't have a completely steady hand to use the lasso tool, you can use the polygonal tool because it's a case of clicking then. You don't have to, you can let go and then click another click. So there you go. I've selected that. So what we're going to do is generative fill and generate. There we go. That's option 1. That's option 2. And that's option 3. I think option 3 works well. Let's just check 1 again. No, option 3 is the one I like. So in option 3, we'll just do the enhanced detail, see how it does. It's changed the color again. So no, I don't want to use that. So I'm just going to go back to that point there. So we're okay with that. Just going to go back to the previous one that we were on. So I just changed layer to the previous one we did a taxi, because I didn't check to see whether that option would improve if I clicked enhance. So I'll click enhance. Again, it's changed the color. So I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to stick with option 1. I think that was, yeah, option 1. So we're happy with those. Let's remove this one over here. We can still use the polygonal tool, because I can still do nice straight lines around the sign down here, around the bicycle. So you can just do nice little, relatively tight, and then we can just come around there. Now I want to remove the sign, so I'm just going to come underneath there, up the back of the bicycle, over the top of the mud flat. There we go, over the top of there. And then what we'll do is get in nice and tight to the sign, up to the top, and we'll return back to where we started. So there we go. So generative fill and generate. So that's option 1. That's option 2. That's option 3. So I think it's possibly option 3. I think that looks nice. So we're going to go with option 3. So happy with that. Now you see this little bit of ghosting we have over here. We can try to remove that as well using the generative fill function. So we're just going to go around where we've got that little bit of ghosting, and you can see that line. Okay, so generative fill and generate. There we go. Slightly different color with option 1. Option 2, no, that's no good at all. Option 3, that's a little bit better, but we've got this area here that's been sort of added, a darker area. So we can go with option 1. We could deal with that, but I think we're going to do a bit more cropping anyway up here. So I think we'll stick with that for the minute. So let's just check the rest of the scene. I'm not too keen about this in the foreground, this bit of tarmac. So we can go back to the remove tool for that. Or actually what we could do, which works quite well, is we could go to the patch tool. If you go into the remove tool and go to the patch tool, but we do have a number of generative fills in this area. So let's bring all of these together. So let's highlight them all, and let's right click and just flatten the image. Okay, so we're back to where we are, so that we know this is the image we're working with. Let's go back into the polygonal tool, and let's use that to do a nice straight line down to that point so that we can mask this out. So we're going to come back over the top of there, look, and back to that corner. So now we've got a very straight edge selection. Okay, we can go into the patch tool selection that we had, and we can move that across and see how that sits. So we're a bit close to the bottom there, so it generated some black there. So we can Command or Control Z or Z to undo, move it up a bit further up here away from that black edge. And we're still getting a bit of an edge, I think, because we crossed it there. So let's just undo that again. Let's take another selection. So we'll go into the polygonal tool again. Let's do the same thing. Let's have our straight line, but this time let's not go off the edge here. And you can see I do my videos live. You see what I do. It's there's nothing hidden here. You know, if it didn't work for me, I show you a way around it. In this case, we're now not going to go off the bottom. We'll go back to the patch tool, and we'll pull this across into this area and let go. And as you can see, remove the dancing ants. We get a better render this time. So happy with that. Need to just pick up these few marks on the road and these lines over here. So let's go back into the remove tool. So right click on there, make the brush a little bit smaller this time, and then what we'll do is we'll just pick those up there. Check when we're happy to remove. Just going to remove that there as well. And then we'll remove these lines up until the point at which the taxi rank starts, plus these little marks on the road here. So just click check, and they're gone as well. So happy with that. Let's remove that CCTV camera sticking off the end there. So remove tool's good when there's a sky behind, as you can see. Is there anything else we want to deal with up here? No, the flags are fine. I might remove the HSBC bank sign there. Don't need to do any bank advertising. Check there. That's good. And I think we're pretty well done. I mean, I do love playing with the remove tool, and because the remove tool doesn't actually use any tokens, because at the top when you're in the remove tool, you can select here from the pull down auto generative AI on or off, and I always run the remove tool off. If I want to use generative AI, I select it and I use it. But when you're in here, I can sometimes, you know, you get these chewing gum marks on the road. I can spend hours just sitting here picking away at all the little marks and sorting them out, and it's quite therapeutic, to be honest. I quite enjoy it, just going through. Maybe that's me being just sad, but if there are lots and lots of marks, sometimes you get a lot of cigarettes as well, cigarette butts that are just left everywhere. Those also can be picked up with the remove tool. So as you can see, I would just go around selecting them all with the remove tool, and when I got to a point where I thought, well, perhaps that's enough, Jamie, move on, do something else, then we would do that. So I'm just going to say that's enough now, really. I'm just having to play there just to show you. But there you go. Pick them all up, hit the check mark, and it will compute what's required, and bingo, they're all gone. So let's go back, let's zoom back to see where we are. So we just need to do a crop just to pick up this edge here, and we need to deal with these signs on the top here. So I also don't really want this light right on the edge here. So let's just get the crop tool. So it's the fourth one down here. Click the crop tool, and you can see you get your border here, and you can just move these little lines over. So we'll bring that one over. We'll bring this one over a little bit just to take out the marks at the bottom. That's still relatively central there. Quite happy with that. And then I'm going to bring it up from the bottom just to miss off that little bit that we've got down ever so slightly from the top, because when we aligned, they were all slightly out from each other. I'm going to hit return, and that's our new crop. I'm just going to bring those together. There we go. So that's the crop done. So just need to tidy up these few bits along the edge here. So again, we could use generative fill, but because we've got a plain sky, back to good old remove tool. Let's make it a little bit bigger here. We can literally just paint out what's overhanging on the edge here. So we can do that. I'm going to take out that light as well, plus it's the star effect from there. Let's just do that one for now, and it should tidy that up for us. A couple of little marks there. We'll just redo that bit there where the light was. There we go, that's better. Nice and tidy. And then what we'll do is we'll take this sign and the edge of that building out as well down here. Very good. Now, there is a little bit of something going on down the end of the road there with that red light. So I'm just going to highlight that and remove that as well. So we're just tidy. You know, we've got everything sorted out. So we've got the shop. It's looking pretty good. I think it would be a good idea to do a sky replacement while we're here, because just a blue sky. So I know I do get carried away with my sky replacements, but if we're dressing up an image and having some fun, why not? And so go to edit, go to sky replacement, and then we'll pull in the sky. Now I'll probably just use the sky that's already there, which I used on the last image. As you're probably aware, I'm still working on my morning and evening sunset sunrise images. I'm getting there, so hopefully be able to produce a sky pack for you early into the new year. So this is one of my more favorite ones. So let's put the sky replacement module on the screen. There we go. So this is just the sky that I'm using here. Now I like the blue up there, so I am just straight away going to add more blue into this scene. Just bring that over to the left there. I think that looks really nice. And we can also darken the sky slightly. So there's a little bit of haloing down the back here, so we have to deal with that, and it hasn't fully got into the trees there. So we can use these main sliders at the top. Shift edge is the main one. If we go to the right, it will bite more into the buildings, but it will also be much brighter. Okay, but if you go too far, it looks unnatural. What we can then also do is fade the edge here left to right. And you can see if I just pull it all the way to the left, we've got a halo. If we pull it all the way to the right, we pretty well get rid of the halo. Yeah. We also then have foreground lighting as well. So foreground lighting deals with the foreground building in front of the sky. So if we go to the left, you can see it's brighter. And if we go to the right, you can see it's darker. So going to the right helps reduce the halos. I think in this case, we're probably somewhere around about there. Now, I think I'm okay with this bit of color here where it hasn't completely gone into the tree, but we can always try by using the refine tool here. And we can always just click just a couple of times just to help bring that sky into that area. So all I'm doing is just doing a couple of clicks, and you can see it's just bringing that sky into the shot there. So I think that looks better. Pretty happy with that. You can also use that in the reverse. If I hold down the Alt or Option key, and you can see this building is a bit illuminated back here, it's bled across, I can keep it on the building and I can just click and use that to take it away. It did catch the edge of the sky there, so I'm just going to undo that. You can overhang. It's important to note you can overhang with this, but you have to be a little bit gentle, so just bring that back in there. That's fine. So a little bit in there, still a bit bright, so hold down the Alt Option key just to remove that. There we go. And I'll just do that one more click there. That's nice. Just brings that alive a little bit over there. Maybe a little bit in the middle of that tree. So let's just give a slightly bigger brush there. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, now we also have these lights over here, which are sort of a bit faded a little bit. These are a little bit more difficult. So if I hold down the Alt or Option key and I try and click, it will help just a little bit, but you have to be careful it doesn't start to take away the sky. And you see just ever so slightly there, it was taking away the sky. So I'm undo that. So we could do the opposite. We could remove them completely by just adding in more sky in that area there. And of course we can use the remove tool if we want to just, take away anything that's left there. So we could also do that, but of course then it doesn't necessarily look completely natural with this going up, but it could still work. So remember, we're just playing with our own images and deciding what we want to do. It's not like we're doing this for a client. It's not like we're having to be absolutely perfect. If we were, I would have shot, as I say, 100 shots, and I would have been much more focused in terms of making sure that we didn't have any ghosting and we didn't necessarily need to use the generative fill tool. But I'm just going to pop back into over here into the module. Happy with the sky it is. The bottom ones here, we did the foreground lighting. We can also flip it, by the way. You can actually click the flip tool and turn it from left to right. I think it was working very well the way around it was. With that tree, that works well. For the foreground lighting we did, edge lighting, you can look at that to see how much it sort of cuts in or doesn't cut into the building itself. So I'm going to bring that one up quite high. And then color adjustment takes color of the sky, applies it to the foreground. So to the left is less. As you can see, there's nice colors. To the right is more. So it's up to you where you want to sit with that. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle there at 50. And, I'm relatively happy with that. I think what we'll do is, I think we'll send this back. So duplicate layer is what you're after, not new layers, because new layers will give you all the separate layers for the sky replacement, whereas duplicate layer will just do one, and you click OK, and you've got your single one. So there's the before, and there's the after. Okay, that works quite well. So we're going to do a little bit more work on the sky in terms of color and the foreground. We'll do that back in Lightroom. So I'm going to click on the background that we no longer want. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to delete that layer. Okay, and people say, oh, why don't you keep it for the history? You can always go back. Well, I'm probably never going to come back here anyway. And if I keep multiple layers, it just makes the file bigger. So once you're happy with it, it's up to you. You can keep all the layers. You don't have to delete them all. I personally always take it back to one layer, just keeping it easy. So we're happy with that. We're just going to go to File, Close, and then we're going to click Save. and that's going to send us back into Lightroom. So I'll click on Lightroom. There we go. I'm just going to get rid of the film strip down the bottom now. So just hit the little triangle. So you've got a bit of a bigger working area. So there you go. We've got the image there, and as you can see, it was shot at 1600 ISO, but there's next to no noise at all now because we did that stacking. So let's take this image and finalize it. First thing I'm going to do is go straight to the sky. So I select masks, I go to sky, apply a sky mask, and you'll note when the sky mask hits, it overlaps the edge of the building slightly, always does. So good little tip, little secret tip is just to highlight the sky here, go to the 3 dots within the mask on the sky, that's it, left click that, go to intersect the mask with, and intersect it with another sky. Strangely, it really helps tidy up the edges. You can do the same again, you can intersect that one with another sky, and it will tidy it up ever so slightly more. If you keep doing them, and what you just started to see now is a little bit of a halo starting to appear. So it sort of pushes the mask back over and over. So I don't want number 3. So I go to the 3 dots for number 3, and I say delete sky 3. So just working with the 2 skies there, sky 1 and then the intersected sky 2. So we've got that. I want to add a bit more saturation into that sky. I love that blue. It really works well. We can actually even move the temp slider more to the blue as well, just to really make that pop up there. I think that looks quite nice. And then we can even darken it ever so slightly from the top. So I'm going to create another mask, this time again another sky mask, but this time I'm going to intersect it, okay, with a linear gradient, and I'm going to pull that linear gradient down maybe from the angle at the side like this, so we get a little bit more darker over there because we've got the sun coming through behind there. Keep it looking natural, just drop the exposure slightly. Just going to come down half a stop, and I'm going to add in just a little bit more blue as well into that top corner there. Just make it pop. I like that. Okay, so that's looking good. So what are we going to do with the shop front itself? Well, we need to add some light. Okay, so I'm going to create a new mask. This time I'm going to select radial, and I want to sort of lighten up these areas down here. So I'm going to just take quite a big radial, quite slim like so. I'm going to rotate it, okay, and I'm going to bring it on the side of that building. We're going to do one in the front here, so don't worry about this area here. What I'm really keen to do is sort of light this area here. Now, we don't want to overlap the sky, so we want to subtract. So we've got to radial gradient, subtract the sky, all right? So the sky is now not part of that mask. You can see the red is just on the building. And now what we can do is we can bring up the exposure on that side of the building. There we go. We can maybe open the shadow up a little bit as well. That works really nice. And what I am going to do is going to go down to clarity, and I'm just going to add some clarity into that shot along that edge there. Really just opens it up. If you compare it to this side, you can see it works really, really well. So what we can do is we can go back to that radial, we can right click, and we can duplicate mask 3. We're not going to duplicate the radial, we're going to duplicate the mask, okay? It's important because that then includes the sky in there. I'm going to pull it over here, select it here, and then just rotate it to the new position so it will light this side of the building. That works well. Just make it this one a little bit bigger. There you go. It's really making this all pop down the side of the buildings here as well. So happy with that. And then what we want to do is put one in the center here. So let's grab this one again, and we're going to duplicate the mask again. So this is mask number 3, copy again. We're going to take that up, put it on, make a nice circle there. Going to light the front of the building here. Now it's a little bit too bright this time, and there's a bit of blue in there. So we just need to decrease the shadows just a little bit and bring the brightness back just a little bit more. And I'm just going to add a little bit of warmth in with the temp slider. So I'm just going to go to the right slightly, and you can see just sort of balance those colors off. And because we copied the radials through, of course the sky is not being affected in that area there. So that looks really, really nice. I might even just add a little bit of contrast into that shot just to make that bow pop on the front of the building. So happy with that. Along the pathways outside the shops, we can always pick up the light coming from the shops a little bit more. So we go to create a new mask, and we can do that with my favorite, the radial filter. So let's take a little long straight one like this. We'll turn it to where the light's coming out from the windows there, you can see. So just pull that out maybe a little bit more, like so. And then we'll bring up the exposure just to boost the light coming out from the shop window. There we go. That works very, very well. Don't want it too bright on the actual walls, so I'm just going to subtract a brush. That brush is going to have no feather at all, 0, and it's going to have quite a high flow. And then I'm going to take a smaller brush here, and I'm just going to click here and then hold down the shift key and click at the other end, and it will just remove a nice straight line. So when you hover over the mask itself, you'll see that it's just a straight line. It's lighting up outside the windows. We can do the same on the other side. So right click, duplicate mask. Okay, so we're just going to pick up that one, move it across to this side, reshape it. So we're happy with that. In fact, on this one, I'm going to make it quite a bit longer. So it runs right down the street. There we go, lighting out into there. This one I'm going to add a little bit of clarity to, just to make the light pop along there. And I just want to make this bit a little bit darker, so we can go back to that same brush. Because we made a copy, we can just use the same brush that we were using. So I've clicked once, and then just holding down the shift key and just working my way along just to bring that. I'm just going to go up there like so. I'll leave that little bit of light in there. Quite happy with that. Maybe we'll drop the rest of the street down. So one click there, one click there. We'll just darken that down as we go down the street. So the light's coming out from the shop. Nice big bright area there. So to emphasize this, we also want to maybe darken the foreground here. So we can do that using a linear gradient. So into masks, pull a linear gradient up from the bottom like so. And then we can just reduce the exposure on that. Just bring that down a little bit. And then we can right click on there, duplicate that mask. Okay, we can then highlight that, move it across to this side and rotate it to the right position. So we get the same effect on the other side. Not too far up. We want to make sure those lights are still nice and bright. Just check that one. Not too far up. Make sure those lights are nice and bright. That's working well. And then I think what we really want to do is just sort of open up the shadows and increase the clarity where the lights are. Now, in this case, what I'm going to do this time is with a mask, I'm going to create a new mask and just take a brush. Okay. I'm going to just add a little bit of exposure, not too much. Just add a little bit of exposure. Make sure the auto mask is turned off when you're in this brush. We're going to have 50% flow and 100% feather. We're going to increase the shadows a little bit, so it'll open it up a little bit more. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to select a little bit of clarity, a little bit of texture. Once we've done that, we will take our brush. Now we're going to make the brush a little bit bigger. We've got a lot of feather on it, which is good. So we've got a nice soft edge, and we can just lightly brush over. Let's bring this tree up as well. Just look at the way it brings the tree alive. These shops down here, these lights, we can just whiz over those. Same here, we'll just give those lights a little bit more attention. Just makes them pop. And we'll pick up the shop front windows as well. I'm going to bring it a little bit in along the top there just to light that up a little bit more where the bow is. It just stands out that little bit more. There we go. That looks very nice. And maybe a little bit more down there in the distance. That's looking really good. So we just want to light up the Jared sign. That's what it's all about, is this shop, the Jared shop here. And you can see there's two little spotlights on there, right? So let's try and mimic those spotlights lighting up the sign. Okay, so let's just zoom in. So you can see there's the two spotlights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a new mask, and it's a radial gradient. I'm going to take the radial gradient and I'm going to put the dot where the light is. Okay. Now the light's facing away from us, so we don't need a bright spot on this one. But what we need to do is look at the direction the light's moving in. So the light is actually moving in that direction. Okay. And it's going to light up coming away from there. It's going to light up this way. It's going to light up that way. So we were going to put that radial like so. We're going to increase the exposure, okay? So we just brought that exposure up. I'm going to add in a little bit of color just to make it look similar to all the other colors here. Remember to add in a bit of magenta just to make it golden rather than yellow. I think that always is a nice touch. And that looks quite authentic. However, you're saying, well, that's not necessarily how a light would work. What we do now is we subtract a brush, okay? Now, this brush is going to be relatively small, but I'm going to have quite a high feather, okay? Going to have quite a high feather, and I'm going to draw some lines away from this light. So we're going to click down here where that light is, and I'm going to go over this direction here and hold down the shift key and click away from it. So you can see I've created a sort of banded light there. And then I'm just going to come back and forwards a few times, working myself away from that area. And then what that will do is it creates a soft edge as we go further back. Same on this side. This is actually sort of feathered away quite nicely on this side, so I don't need to really do too much there. What I do need to do is just make sure we've not got the lamp too illuminated. So I'm just going to come in here, just put that back, just come in here and just make sure that we've got that area there just darker as we come away. And I might even add just a little bit on this side just to show that the light's just pulling away a little bit as we go further away. And we need to darken the light. So now I'm going to move the flow to 100% and the feather to next to 0. And I'm just going to come in with a small brush on the back of this lamp here. And I'm just going to click once, move to the other end, shift click again, down to the bottom, and just work my way around that lamp like so, and then just fill it in. So we've got a nice dark back there, and also the lights above this sort of detail. So we just want to take that line out. So I'm just going to increase the feather just a little bit. So we've just got a slight feathered edge there. So just bring that up, not too much. And then I'm going to go right over here, click once, hold down the shift key, come right up behind here, click again, and then we'll just work our way around. So click once here, there we go. And then we're going to come to here, hold down the shift key, click to there, hold down the shift key, click to there, and just work our way away. Okay, we're at 100%, so we're removing everything that's there. So let me just zoom out ever so slightly, and we'll remove the remainder here. So we'll put the feather to 0 now, just so I can just take away whatever's left in this shot here. Just coming in there. That's fine. Won't be along the top because there's a sort of running edge there. So let's just put that feather back, smaller brush, and we'll just come along that edge. So click once, shift click, shift click, shift click, just working your way through there. Then you can make your brush bigger, take away the rest of it that's up there. So all we've got is the light itself just coming in on that area. You can see I've just created that little bit of a line there. I just need to take that line out. So we just drop the flow down, increase the feather, smaller brush, and we will just wash that in so it fades away. There we go. So the light's lighting that area. That looks quite authentic, doesn't it? So we just need to make sure we get the right color balance when we move over. So 65-35 on the temp. We'll create another mask, another radial, and then we'll do the same going in the opposite direction. Okay, so we'll just move that up here. So I'll speed this up just this little brief bit because we've done it once, and then you can see how it looks. Okay, there we go. So there's our two lights. So we can just adjust them ever so slightly to make them brighter or darker depending on what we want. So what I'm going to do here is just select the second one here. We can just go back to this one here, select the brush, make sure the flow's quite low, feather's quite high. Same thing here, we'll just take that line back. There we go. So we've got that sort of crossover between the two lights in the middle, and that looks really quite authentic. If you want to, you can always make it a little bit brighter in here, and I can show you how to do that as well. You just go back to the mask itself, you click on the mask, you right click, you duplicate the mask, not the radial, and it makes it brighter, as you can see. But what you do is you then click on this and bring it down so it's a lot smaller. So, and then put it in the direction that the light's going. Make it quite small. Here we go. And what you get then is a little bit of an effect where it's just sort of really lighting up the wall. We'll just drop that brightness just a little bit down. There we go, like so. Do the same with this one. So there we go. I'm going to say that that's a pretty good effect at lighting up the Jared sign. Makes it look quite realistic. I think there's just a couple of little bits left to do just to lighten up these dark areas. So what I'm going to do there is just, again, select a mask, take a brush. This time I'm going to put the auto mask on, going to bring up the exposure and the shadows just a little bit. And what we do is we'll take a small brush. So let's make sure that we have not got too much flow. So let's go 100% feather. We'll go 50% flow. And the idea is I just want to wash along this line here. And if we start on the white line, the auto mask will keep us on the white line. So effectively, we can just light up the white line only and not the areas around it. That actually looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go a little bit bigger on that one. And maybe a little bit down the street there. Let's just light up these columns just a little bit more so they stand out. Just give us a little bit more of a look for the building, because it's a beautiful building. And this area here is a little bit darker here. We'll just light that up as well. There we go. Just bringing the details of the building out so we can see them. Let me just do these last two little columns here on the front, this one and this one. So I think that's it for masks. Let's just finalize the image itself. So I think we're going to just drop the saturation a little bit. Okay, now you think, oh, why have you done that? Well, because then what we'll do is we'll add the vibrance to bring the colors back. And you get this sort of quite vintage look if you reduce saturation, increase the vibrance. So that's looking pretty good. Just going to open up the overall shadows a little bit more, add a little bit more contrast just to bring the image in a little bit. And I just want to reduce the yellow just ever so slightly. So we can go down to the color mixer here, select saturation and just back the yellow off just a little bit. Increase the orange. So we got more orange than yellow. I think that always looks nice. You get more of a golden. Okay, and we're going to boost the red. So we're just going to bring the red up a little bit. Really make the red pop. Yeah, I like that. Add a little bit. The blue itself is a bit much in the sky now because we did the difference with the vibrance. So we can always bring the blue back just a little bit, just so it looks a little bit natural, a little bit less on the aqua as well. That's nice. The purple, you can see there's quite a bit of purple there because of the light, the purple and magenta. So we're just going to drop those back as well, just so we've got more of a white area there. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Do I need to just bring up the highlights just a little bit? Just going to check my blacks and my whites. Hold down the Alt key, and then I'm going to move my whites. So the whites are all the lights lit up. So I'm just going to back that down a little bit. So we've just got the lights lit up, and I'm going to go to my blacks. Bring the blacks down until we see some black appear. Perfect. Bit too much. I'm just going to come up just slightly. There we go. And then overall image, a little bit of clarity, not too much. And I'm just going to brighten the whole scene up. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, please click like. If you've got any comments or questions, I always welcome them down below. Love to have a chat with you about things, your views, your comments. And if you've got any tips, of course, always pass them my way. Every day is a school day, as I say. And if you haven't already subscribed, it would be great for you to join me on this adventure here on YouTube. I'm almost at 20,000 subscribers, so we're doing well just before Christmas. I'm really happy with that. So for now, I'm going to say bye-bye and Merry Christmas.